Good morning, children. Today we are on to the fifth video of biomolecules. I hope you have followed the first four videos. If you have not seen, please see them and practice the structures very nicely. It will be very useful to you. I'm sure about it. In today's video, we will be talking about protein. Now, what protein is? First, we will discuss that. It is obtained from the Greek word. The word protein is obtained from a Greek word that is proteos. Proteos. Proteos means prime importance, yeah, primary importance. Anything which is of importance to us. Prime importance. And we all know that these are, proteins are very important for our body. They are building up, they help in the growth, maintenance of the body. So today's class will be talking about protein. Now all the proteins are polymers of, these are polymers of alpha amino acid. These are the polymers of alpha amino acid. You might be thinking protein means you're talking about biology. No, there is lot of chemistry involved in it. These are polymers of alpha amino acid. Now first we will split this term. Amino acid. Amino means the NH2 group. There is NH2 group. And there is acid group plus alpha is also there. Now what do we mean by that alpha term? We will write down this COOH. This is the main functional group. The main functional group, carbon atom which is present just adjacent to the main functional group. This is called as alpha. This is alpha carbon. On the alpha carbon, there is amino group, right? And the remaining four valencies of this carbon are satisfied by, say, one is hydrogen and another one is R. This R goes on changing. This R goes on changing. Rest everything is same. All proteins will be alpha amino acid. I hope this is clear. What do we mean by alpha? On the alpha carbon atom means the carboxylic acid is there. The carbon atom adjacent to carboxylic acid is alpha carbon. On that carbon, if NH2 is there and there is hydrogen plus R also, this is alpha amino acid. That means all proteins have this as the basic structure, right? Now this R will be changing based upon what is R. We will have number of the amino acid. There are 20 amino acids known. There are 20 amino acids known based upon the various values for R. This R will change every time you will get to different amino acid. Clear? Now, you must have seen I wrote COOH on the right hand side and I wrote NH2 on the left hand side. This is a particular notation of the amino acid. Now, what is this amino acid? This is L notation. This is L amino acid, right? Right. Normally what you have is L. So what is this? L amino acid. So each term has its significance. Amino is for NH2, acid is for carboxylic group, alpha is for on the alpha carbon there is amino group, and L is when NH2 is present on the left hand side. Normally this is written on the left hand side. We follow L notation. And if this NH2 is on the right hand side, then it will be called as D. D in D in D configuration, NH2 is on the right hand side. Got it? But normally we follow this one, L notation. Clear? Now one more thing. As I said, with various amino acids are possible by changing this R value. If this R is H, that means this carbon will have two hydrogens. This is only one type of amino acid. What is this type? I will write the structure separately, children, for you. This is COOH. This is as such always H. This is NH2. And if this one is also H, then it becomes optically inactive. it becomes optically inactive. And there is only one such amino acid which is optically inactive, and that is called glycine. So this structure we have learned. This is glycine. If both are H, it is glycine. Okay, so you need not learn in chemistry all the structures of the 20 amino acids. We can learn, 4 which are commonly, asked. Okay. If suppose this NH2 group is present on the next carbon atom or the still next one, you will have different types of amino acid that will be called as beta, gamma, delta, and so on. But proteins have only alpha amino acid. So we'll be focusing upon that. Right. Now we will also discuss if this R value is changing, what are the other amino acids. As I said, if we learn 4, that is fine. So at least 4 structures I will tell you. These are the 4. If this one R is H, I told you this is glycine. This is the simplest one. If this R is methyl, it is alanine. If this R is isopropyl, it is valine. And if it is isobutyl structure, then it is leucine. That means these are the R values I wrote. In the amino acid, if R value is this, then these are the names. Achha, one more thing. These amino acids are represented by either 3-letter code. These are represented by 3-letter code, a 3-letter symbol, 3-letter symbol, or they can be represented by 1-letter code. 3-letter symbol or 1-letter code. Now what are these? I'll just tell you for these 4. We need not go for all the amino acids. Like the first one, glycine. Glycine is represented by first 3 letters symbol GLY. And if we have to write down the code, it is G. Alanine, ALA. And symbol will be A. Valine, VAL. V. Leucine, LEUL. Okay, so these are, these amino acids, they are represented by 3-letter symbol or 1-letter code, right? Please, you can draw these things in your copies, maintain. Always, whenever I am teaching children, please be ready with your pen, pencil, right? Your copy, notes copy, okay? Next topic we are taking, that is classification of amino acids. The amino acids can be classified on different bases. The criteria can be different. One criteria on which they are classified is their behavior. That means they can be acidic, they can be basic, or they can be neutral. They can be neutral. Now, how do we classify them? It is on the basis of the number of the NH2 groups or COOH group. If we find the number of the NH2 group is equal to the number of COOH group, then it will be neutral. And if we find this NH2 group is greater than NH2 group is greater than the acid group, it is basic. And if you find the NH2 group is less than the carboxylic acid group, then it will be acidic. Okay. Clear? Now we know that the NH2 group is having nitrogen is having a lone pair, so this will be responsible for the basic nature. If NH2 groups are more in the structure, how will this be more? You might be thinking it will be based upon R. Maybe that R is having some NH2 group. So maybe that R is having some COOH group. So if it is a normal one, that is say glycine, both are same, then it is neutral. If this part is more than the acid, it is basic. If this part is more than the acid, then NH2 group is less than the carboxylic acid group, then it will be acidic in nature. Okay, now some physical properties of amino acids which are also very, very important, that amino acids are usually, colorless. These are usually colorless crystalline solids. Crystalline solids. These are all water soluble. Water soluble. they have high melting point. And moreover, when we are saying they're crystalline solid, that means they are behaving like salts. They are behaving like salts rather than specific like simple amine NH2 group or COOH group. They are behaving like salt. Then how salt? Where is the cation or anion in it? So for that, children, it's very important we should be knowing the structural aspect of it. Just now we wrote that R form, L form. So we will be writing that, say COOH, carboxylic acid group, C, and then you have here say NH2, then you had H, and this was either R or H, right? Now, in this, acid is, having a tendency to liberate H plus. So internally what happens, this H is taken up by this NH2. So what happens in the next structure, we will have COO minus, this will be R or H, this will be as such H, this will be NH3 plus. So what has happened? This acid has given its H plus to NH2. So it has formed a cation and anion within the structure. So such a ion form is called as Zwitter ion. It is called as Zwitter ion. That means in amino acid there is a Zwitter ion present, right? Uh, due to which it is neutral, because both cation and anion, that is both positive and the negative charges, are present within the same species. Now another important thing that can be asked is, suppose to this Zwitter ion, I'll just move it here a little bit, if you add say H plus to it, means if you add say acid to it, then what will happen? This negative part will take this H plus. When it takes the H plus, what will be formed? It will form this NH3 plus will be left as such. This will be H, this will be H or R, and this side it will form COOH, because this H will be taken away by this O minus. So it has formed a cation. So when it has formed a cation, it will start moving towards cathode. Sometimes this question can be asked. If you add acid to amino acid, then it will move towards which electrode? If the electrodes are immersed in it, then it will start moving towards cathode. You have a reason for it, because it has formed a cation now, because the negative part is neutralized by H plus of acid. Now to this, if the base is added, if OH minus is added, so what will happen? This OH minus will have a tendency to pull H from this NH3 plus. So when this will go, what will happen? It will form NH2. This H has gone here with OH minus to form water. This is carbon, hydrogen, OR. This will be left behind as COO minus. In this case, this minus is not neutralized. So, in the basic medium, it has formed an anion, means it will move towards anode. This is very, very important. This was the Zwitter ion. To this, if you add acid, it forms a cation, so it will move towards cathode. In the basic medium, this OH minus pulls this H plus of NH3 plus, forms NH2, and COO minus, means an ion is formed. Anions move towards anode. And if we somehow maintain that particular pH where it is not moving at all, neither towards anode nor towards cathode, that is called as isoelectric point. This is called as isoelectric point. What is isoelectric point? Isoelectric point is that pH when this doesn't move towards anode or cathode. That means the cation and anion part are equal. So if we are able to maintain that pH will be called as isoelectric point. So this is one classification we have done, acidic, basic, neutral. Here itself I have also told you that it is existing as salt, Zwitter ion, and if acid is added or base is added, what will happen, where it is going to move, which direction it is going to move. Now we'll be talking about another classification of amino acids. Now we'll be talking about the second classification. The second classification is on the basis of whether we need to consume them, whether they are synthesized in the body or not synthesized. So one is essential amino acids, and another one is non-essential amino acids. As the name itself says, essential, they have to be taken, they are essentially to be taken. So essential amino acids are those which cannot be synthesized in the body, So because they cannot be synthesized in the body, they have to be obtained through the diet. They have to be taken through diet. We need to consume them. We need to take them through diet. So these are essential amino acids. Non-essential amino acids, non-essential means they need not be taken. Means they are synthesized in the body. These are those which are synthesized in the body. When they are synthesized in the body itself, they need not be consumed artificial. They need not be consumed. Okay, now what are the common, at least two examples we should be knowing, the common essential amino acids which you can learn. I told you four, two essential and two non-essential. So leucine, valine, these are the two essential amino acids. Non-essential amino acids you can learn to glycine and alanine. These are the two non-essential amino acids. Right. So this is the second classification we have discussed. Now we'll be talking about the third classification of the amino acids. The third classification which we are taking is on the basis of their molecular shapes. On the basis of the molecular shapes, these amino acids, or we can say proteins, in fact. This is basically the classification for a protein. But I am teaching here because what is the main component of the protein is amino acid, right? So this is the classification of protein, we can say. On the basis of the molecular shape, proteins can be classified into two. One is fibrous protein, fibrous protein, and another one is globular protein. As the name itself says, fiber-like, fibrous, globule-like. Now, fiber. What is that fibrous protein? Fibrous proteins are those in which the polypeptide chain. Now, what are polypeptide chain? You must be thinking, I've not taught you, but structural aspect I've thought of taking separately, right? The polypeptide chain is one amino acid, another amino acid, and many amino acids. When they are linked together, they will be linked together by a peptide bond. So if many such amino acids link together, they will form a polypeptide chain because they will form many peptide bonds. Okay, we will be discussing in the next video the structural aspect of the protein, right? But as of now, you can just write this. What are fibrous proteins? The polypeptide. When the polypeptide chains run parallel and are held by, hydrogen or disulfide bonds, then they will form this type of protein. Now, something like hair, thin fiber like. So that is fibrous protein. Globule means something like a globule. Like you have that wool threads are there, and when we just make them into a ball, it will form a globule like structure, right? So what is a globular protein? These are when the polypeptide chains, coil around, when they coil around to give a spherical shape, that woolen thread, no, suppose we just coil it, it will form, a ball like thing. So that is something like a globular protein, right? So when the polypeptide chains run parallel to each other, thread like thing, then it is fibrous protein. And a globular protein is that when a polypeptide chain coils around and it forms a sphere like spherical shape, then it is globular protein. The next one, the next difference, actually differences are also asked sometimes. Now fibrous protein is that which is insoluble in water. It is insoluble in water. And what is a globular protein? Globular protein is that which is soluble in water. Soluble in water. Examples also we can write. Examples for this: hair, wool, silk. All these are having keratin. Then you have myosin, which is present in muscle, myosin. And globular protein, you can remember two examples: insulin and albumin. Sorry. Yes. Polypeptide chains run parallel to each other to form thread-like thing. I think polypeptide, if you want, I'll just tell you basic idea. I'll give you what is the peptide linkage. Rest the structural aspect we will take in the next video. Suppose you have this COOH, and this is H or R. This side you have is NH2. This is one amino acid, children. If you have one more amino acid, we draw on the right hand side, NH2, this H, COOH, and this is H or R. So this OH and H, if it comes out as water, this side H with a neighboring one more amino acid, this side also OH with a neighboring. So what are we left over with in between? CO and H. This is C, H or R. This is H. This is CO. You will have a dash here because it may be linked with some other, amino acid which is present adjacent to it. This is H. This is N and H. Likewise, you may have many such amino acid linked together. This such chain is called as polypeptide chain. This such chain, which I have written here N. N means many amino acids are getting linked together. Right. So what I have taken is first classification of amino acid. Two types I had taken. This one, and then I had taken essential, non-essential. This one more classification I have taken here itself. This was the classification of protein. Proteins can be classified on the basis of the molecular shapes into two, that is fibrous and globular protein. Right? And in the next video, we will be talking about the structure of protein, structure and the shape of protein. There are 4 different criteria. Those we are going to discuss in the next video. I hope you have followed. Thanks for watching.